Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, let's go. I know, I'm pretty excited for a Tuesday. Yesterday's show was fun. Today's going to be a barrel of laughs, too. Things aren't so serious, now that the election is over. Everyone's not so uptight anymore. But look, it's the holidays, time to buckle down because there's some issues that always come around the holidays, and you hear these stories, but they change and evolve throughout the year. And here to make some sense of it, retired Lieutenant Commander Joe Cardinale is back on the James Show, and as a man who has his first career in law enforcement, one thing that comes up around this time of year that I always see in the news is a big increase in shoplifting. I mean, are they shoplifting for Christmas, or why is this such a hot time for shoplifters?
Well, it's a hot time because everybody's out there doing their holiday shopping, and the pickings are easy these days in certain areas when they don't challenge them, and it's just an accepted practice across this country that they're allowed to go out there and do their own. It's, the stores and hitting them up the way they do. So, to them, it's just the way of life these days that nobody's going to challenge them. So.
Well, the new evolution that we have to deal with that previous generations didn't have to deal with is how much stuff we order online and Amazon packages getting dropped off on our porch. And then we have the new thing of porch pirates. Do you have any general recommendations for people concerned about porch pirates, Joe?
Yeah, the thing is you can make arrangements ahead of time with Amazon as to when you can, have it delivered or have it delivered to a neighbor, have your neighbor go and pick it up for you, that it's not going to be out there all day long because they're out there and they're just driving around looking for the boxes. They'll walk down the street. They're brazen. They will go out there, walk up. They don't care if they're photographed because 9 out of 10, they're not from the area anyways. They're dropped off by a van that's doing the same thing. And it's, instead of toys for tots, they have toys for idiots. That's exactly what it boils down to. So it's that time of the season where the pickings are right for them right now. The stars are aligning for every criminal that's out there right now because they have everything in their grasp without any challenges, and you have to make it tough for them. You have to make it tough. I know there are some sting operations, all right, that they have out there, which is good, all right, where you can leave them up. They do set it up and they watch. But these guys and these ladies, it's not just guys, women are doing it too. They're out there and they're driving around in the vans, in their cars, and actually some of them are using drones to go up and see what's going on, where they can find things before they have to walk down the block. They'll just know the house they're going to ahead of time.
They probably stole that drone too, Joe.
Yeah, they probably
right.
that too. That was probably in one of the boxes, and they said, "Let's put this to good use right now." Send the drone up. But it's just like I said, it's that time of the year, and people have to be aware of what's going on around them. And the good thing is, when you have something like the Ring cameras, they put up that network there, and they start speaking to the locals, the neighborhood, and they start, "Hey, anybody see my package?" And people are saying, "Did anybody get my package? It was delivered." When they go back and they see that somebody picked it up, and they're like, well, this wasn't delivered to the wrong address. Somebody just took it. And plus, they're hitting the Amazon vans themselves and the UPS trucks and everything. That's why they double up around the holidays. I know UPS does,
Are those doorbell cams a deterrent at all?
They are, because what they'll do is they'll record. You'll hear it. You could set it up. The Ring cameras are very good. You could set them up. A lot of them are good, where you can have the perimeter, extend your perimeter as to where you want the alert. So you can actually get somebody up there right away. And sometimes they wait to see if there's cars in the driveway. And if there's no car, they just go up there and sometimes they'll ring the doorbell and they'll just pick the package up and just walk. They don't even run anymore. They just walk away. They just
they don't want to draw attention. See, I have a doorbell camera, and I've always thought, well, I don't think this is going to do anything to stop them. I'll at least to get to see what they were dressed like. Whoever stole my package. But I just haven't had that problem yet. Thank goodness. What about the idea of booby trapping packages? If I was in a neighborhood where this was happening, I would be so tempted to do that.
You could be tempted to do it. Some people had it where it would just open it up and it would just pop like the dust into their face to die, which is pretty funny. People get creative with this. And the bottom line is, in some areas, it's going to identify the person, because now you're looking for the Grinch that's all green and everything. So it's pretty funny. But you have to be careful with that, too, because then they turn around and they're the ones committing the crime, and they'll wind up suing the person that did that, So And in this day and age, in like New York City with Alvin Bragg, I would see him, prosecuting the person that was stealing it before they prosecute they would sooner prosecute the person that set the booby trap than the person that's stealing it. That's the bottom line. So.
Well, Joe, we were following your candidacy in the last election cycle. What are you doing now for, your sort of second project?
If I told you, you wouldn't believe it. They're still counting votes. All right. We're down about 488 votes. I thought this thing would have been finalized 2 weeks ago, and it's still not finalized. We're going to fall short. We know the areas where we fell short. So I'm going to keep my, my hand in the game. All right, let's put it that way. And we'll see what happens coming up. I'll probably be working for one of the local congressmen, doing some political stuff for them, community liaison. But other than that, I'm far from removed from the scene. That's for sure. I mean,
well, Joe,
they're going to have to do a lot more than 500 votes to get me out of here.
The only place I heard that's still counting votes is over in California. So they're still counting them in New York, too. What is the deal? What is the excuse to still be counting votes a month later?
It's bizarre. I thought it would have been over with. I mean, it's like 98.04 votes were in at the last check. So it's a lot of mail-ins. It's a lot of votes that they turned away, for improper signatures, or they just weren't proper votes, or they're just trying to, put the number on it so it's not challenged and they don't go through the whole thing. But I know that the other side has got lawyers standing by should they find any improprieties, in the results. So, it's a tight race. We did very well in the area. We did extremely well where it's a 2-to-1 ratio as far as Democrat voters to Republican. And in Suffolk County, would you believe I was down by one vote out of 56,000 votes? We're down by one vote.
I mean, I'd be impressed, but I don't know what Suffolk County means. I'm just a bumpkin from Texas. So
out in Long Island, there's two counties, Nassau and Suffolk. That's all of Long Island. I cover a little part of Nassau County and then all of a good portion of Suffolk County. So that coming down to it, it's just the one county, Nassau, where they picked up all their votes. And the ratio was, a little against us there. So,
well, great.
It's good.
Well, thanks for the update, Joe Cardinale. I appreciate your insight here on the James Show. Where do they find you outside of WBAP?
Well, they can still see me on Joe Cardinale for Assembly. I'm keeping that up. So anybody wants anything, they can find me on Joe Cardinale for Assembly on all the media sites. So you can find that and keep me. I'm going to keep everybody posted on other events that are coming up for the next couple of years. We'll see what's happening, but we're going to keep going. Headstrong into the wind, and we're going to keep fighting the fight. Always will.
All right. Well, Lieutenant Joe Cardinale, thank you for your time.
Thank you, my friend. You have a great holiday too. All right.
Yes, sir. We'll talk to you soon. All right. Coming up next, you're going to hear what the local congressional representative Jasmine Crockett had to say about Joe Biden pardoning Hunter. Coming up. If you got any comments, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Your thoughts, your reaction to the big pardon of the year. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey there. Welcome back to The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. It's good to hear from all sides of an issue here on WBAP. We like to try and include Team Blue. And while we invite them on, Garrett, just an honest answer. How many times have we invited Jasmine Crockett on the show? Like with the email from our work email address with the formal letter. It's like, we would like to invite her on from this time frame to this time frame. Here's the background on our show. If you have any questions, let me know. At least 3? Yeah, I'm thinking it's more like 6. Because, we've actually had Chloe write us back a couple times. Well, we can't do it this week, but maybe we'll try and work on a time next week or whatever. We'd love to have her on. I promise I'll be respectful, because Jasmine Crockett, believe it or not, we completely disagree politically. At least she's on Team Blue, I'm on Team Red. But she seems like the type of person I would get along with. When I talk about how I have a lot of liberal friends, this is what they sound like. So while I sound like me and her may just get in a slap fight if we're ever in the same room, I think it's far more likely that if we went out and had a couple beers, we'd end up being reluctant friends. Can't help it. I kind of like her. But she has a different take than you do on the Joe Biden pardoning of Hunter. She's a big fan. She celebrates it. She's cheering him on. Go, Joe, go. This is her on MSNBC last night.
Well, I won't pretend to speak for the entire caucus, but I will say, way to go, Joe. Let me be the first one to congratulate the president for deciding to do this, because at the end of the day, we know that we have a 34-count convicted felon that is about to walk into the White House. So for anyone that wants to clutch their pearls now because he decided that he was going to pardon his son, I would say take a look in the mirror, because we also know that when it comes to this cabinet has more people accused of sexual assault than any incoming cabinet probably ever in the history of America. So we are living in unprecedented times, and we know that this was completely political. As someone who serves on the Oversight Committee, this was gamesmanship the entire time. And we know that this investigation had been taking place for 5 or 6 years. We know that Hunter had accepted responsibility, and it was the Oversight Committee that was pushing to try to say, no, it wasn't enough. And ultimately, the judge decided to reject the plea. And so considering everything that took place and considering where we are in this country, I say, way to go, Joe.
I like it, the making up of the statistics. This incoming cabinet has more sexual assault accusations than probably any cabinet in history. What was the probably in there for? Why'd you put the probably in there for? Because no one has a statistic on such things. No one's keeping track of such things. You couldn't possibly know that. Name anyone who is in the Warren Harding cabinet. Did they have any sexual assault accusations against them? Do you even know? Did you even look it up? This reminds me of when Whoopi was like, oh, yeah, Jill Biden, she's a heck of a good doctor. She should be Surgeon General. Because someone said, well, what about Jill? Isn't she a doctor? And I think, wasn't it Joy that actually tried to correct her? She was like the voice of reason. Like, no, I don't. Is she even a real doctor? Oh, no. Jill Biden, she's definitely a real doctor. She's a hell of a doctor. And without even knowing, Whoopi just goes out and says this as if Whoopi has some sort of metric by which she grades doctors, and she keeps up with it and commits it to memory. Can you name the top 5 surgeons in the country? Can you name the top 20 surgeons? How do you even know? Do you even know 10 surgeons? How do you know she's the best one, Whoopi? Do you read medical journals? I mean, it was such a farcical take that it's almost unbelievable, but it betrays something. They just say whatever it takes to make them sound good, to help Team Blue, to help the narrative. They don't care if it's true. They don't care if they've never done any research into it. They don't even care if it's something that's not researchable. Like this was Whoopi, same thing.
I'm hoping Dr. Jill becomes a Surgeon General, his wife. Joe Biden's wife, because he would never do it, but she's a hell of a doctor. She's an amazing doctor.
She's a doctor and
PhD.
Yeah, I don't know.
I could be wrong. I
think she's a teacher, but might be good for Betsy DeVos's post.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah, just whatever makes us look good and what makes Team Blue look good and what makes Team Red look bad. That is the definition of a hack. With no matter what your team does, it's great. She's a hell of a doctor. She's an amazing doctor. Why are you saying that? You can't know that. She's not even a doctor. So she goes from just having a PhD to being an amazing doctor. Why? Because I'm saying what I think makes me look smart and what makes Team Blue look good. I think that's all Jasmine's doing. Jasmine's playing the game. She's a smart little girl. She's got it right. Oh, this is a great decision. Anything that he says, sure, that's great. And watch, she's moving up in the world. She just got reelected to her second term last month. She was a freshman congresswoman. She already got to speak at the DNC. She's already gotten a whole lot of airtime on the Sunday shows and on MSNBC and the type of camera time that congressmen wish they could get. Now, part of this is because she's young and beautiful, and rightfully so. Part of it is because she gives good sound bites, because she sounds good, because she can speak well. And she's not an idiot. She's not like Kamala Harris, who just says word salad like, well, Ukraine is a country, and Russia is another country, and they're at war with each other, and we don't want Russia to win. Now, Jasmine's way smarter than that. I don't know if she actually believes everything she's saying, or she's just kind of doing the Whoopi thing where she's going along to get along. But she's got a little bit of a future there. The problem is you keep doing this, you keep going forward for years and years and years, you're going to be able to do what we've done to so many other people. And that's, okay, what'd you say 5 years ago on this exact same subject? Now that the circumstances has changed and the narrative has been blown out of the water, we're going to be able to do what Jon Stewart just did to Jamie Raskin. Last night on The Daily Show, Jon Stewart was talking about not just the pardon, but the effect it's had on Democrats who base their morality of Joe Biden and protecting democracy on the fact that he said he wasn't going to pardon Hunter. And Jon Stewart put two cuts back to back that are 4 years apart. And it's beautiful. Jon Stewart last night on The Daily Show.
This is what Biden's decision has done. Look how confident and eloquent our Democratic representatives were back when they thought they had the moral high ground on this issue.
I've not heard a single Democrat anywhere in the country cry fraud, cry fixed, cry rigged, cry kangaroo court. You don't hear a single peep out of any Democrat saying that power that we believe in the rule of law.
And now look at what even he, one of the most verbally dexterous attorneys we have on Capitol Hill, has been reduced to.
Do you think President Biden should pardon Hunter Biden?
So there are lots of claims of political prosecution and political
And was Hunter politically prosecuted?
I mean, obviously that's a judicial point, and you've got to look at what the evidence is, and I don't know enough
so should the president pardon him?
I mean, again, that is a unilateral executive power that...
Yes or no?
And should he use it?
Well, the power exists for the president to show mercy for people.
It's so great seeing people get tripped up by CNN when you're on the same team and you can't just yes or no, just yes or no. Coming up next, you're going to learn some new scummy ways people are using AI to break the law. 800-288-9227 if you want to be a part of the show. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, do me a favor, when you're online next, just goofing around on social media, find me, find The James Show, find WBAP. We all have our own pages, the show page, the station page, whether it's on Facebook or X/Twitter, whatever we're calling it these days. We're doing a lot of stuff on YouTube as well. Just look for us out there. Give us a follow. Share means a whole lot as well. And I realize this is kind of private, but it's probably going to be next time you're taking a potty break and you're just killing some time on the phone. Kill some of it with us. All right. Technology is expanding every day. One of the great new technologies a lot of us have been enjoying is artificial intelligence in some form or another. My next guest, Scott Bairdell, coming back on The James Show from Idea Growth. My producer was telling me there was a lawyer in Beaumont who was citing fake AI-generated cases. I mean, how much trouble are people finding AI to be, or just intentionally getting in trouble with AI these days? I mean, they're finding new and innovative ways to commit crimes.
Yeah, well, this is happened ruling in federal court last week. Is a Beaumont, Texas attorney named Brandon Monk, and he was representing a plaintiff in a wrongful termination case against Goodyear, the tire company. And he just happened to include in his filing a bunch of made-up, non-existent legal precedents and cases because he just asked ChatGPT instead of actually doing the research.
Ooh, how do you think he'd get away with that?
Well, I think there's the mistaken impression of a lot of people, even though you would think people would know at this point that ChatGPT is always accurate, and it's not. In fact, there was a study recently that showed 52% of ChatGPT responses have at least one inaccuracy in them. So you better check your sources.
Okay. I just think if you submit a case, the judge has the ability to go to a computer and see, okay, let me see if this case pulls up. And it just seems like something you could be easily busted for.
Yeah, I think, what all these lawyers say, this happened within the last year in Colorado. The first time it really happened and made a big case was in the New York Times with a New York attorney did this in early 2023. So it keeps happening, keeps being the same thing, which is they're not taking the time to do real case research, which I guess is very time-consuming and laborious. They're not even taking the time to check the work. And then afterwards, you could read stories about these cases that lawyers all just say, oh, I'm so overwhelmed and overworked, and, I didn't have time, and well, the result has been people have been suspended from the bar. They've been fired from their firms. So, They should probably find a way to make the time.
Yeah, I've heard stories about people in my business, whether I'm on a radio station or TV station, we all have websites where we're putting up news stories, and people have been busted getting AI to write their news story so they could get more done in a day, and they got fired for that.
Well, there's two things. There's one is that the ChatGPT can kind of have a artificial sameness to it, so it doesn't have an authentic feel. And there's another thing that it can have, incorrect information in there, and you it's not that you can't use it or you shouldn't use it. You should, but it's a tool. It's not the entire solution. In the legal field, I'll give you some stats that should make lawyers concerned, which is that there's a company called Integris, which is an IT managed service provider that works with law firms. And they did a survey recently that showed that over 70% of law firm clients, it was a survey just of law firm clients, that are very concerned about law firms over-relying on ChatGPT. And they're concerned for a couple reasons. One is things like what's happened with inaccuracies, but also that these lawyers are going to be putting, their personal information within ChatGPT to get responses, and then that information is no longer confidential because none of these tools promise any form of confidentiality with the information that's input into them. So there's a lot of fear that is being stoked by these attorneys that are making these very public mistakes.
All right, tell them about the work you do outside of WBAP.
Well, I have a PR and marketing firm called Idea Growth, and you can come find us at ideagrowth.com. And I also work with Integris, which is the IT firm that's behind the study.
Thank you very much, Scott Baradell from Idea Growth. Appreciate your time, sir. Yeah, people find it. Do you come up with a new technology? It just takes some human beings about 10 seconds to find a new way to do something illegal with it. I mean, who would have even guessed? Well, let me come up with some fake cases and I'll just submit them to the judge. What could possibly go wrong? People are that dumb. People think that'll work. Look, here's another concern. How many times has he done this before and gotten away with it? How many thousands of lawyers right now are getting away with it? Because judges they're dumb too. Not all of them, but in the pool of thousands of people who are judges, there's going to be a couple of dense people out there. Your thoughts, 800-288-9227. Have you found any new innovative ways to break the law with artificial intelligence? Tell on yourself on The James Show, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, I think we're going to get a verdict on the Daniel Penny case, like within a matter of minutes, maybe hours. So I'll give you a summary of how that case has gone because it's all wrapped up and we're just waiting on the jury now. That's coming up in about 4 minutes on The James Show. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there. Welcome back to The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I'm keeping an eye on the courtroom where the Daniel Penny verdict is. We're awaiting that. Is expected any minute now. Probably within hours at the longest. And as soon as that pops down, I'm going to let you know, because so much is hinging on this verdict. This isn't just about Daniel Penny and his freedom. This is about sending a message to all the other Good Samaritans, mostly men out there. Are you going to put yourself on the line to protect other people? Because if you're going to be persecuted for it, a lot of us are going to make the logical decision and say, hell no. Nope. If some guy's going on to the bus or on the subway and threatening people, I may protect my family, I may protect myself, but a guilty verdict would heavily disincentivize Good Samaritans, the best among us, the chivalrous, the people who are doing what we usually consider to be the moral, ethical, upstanding thing. Sacrificing your own safety to ensure the safety of others. That's pretty heroic stuff. That's what's on trial, not Daniel Penny. Toxic masculinity is on trial. We call it chivalry in the old days. It used to be a good thing. We have a lot of guys, especially younger guys, who are going to look at this, and whether or not it's consciously in their head, it'll be rolling around in the back of their head. Just like after George Floyd, it was rolling around in the back of the head of all these cops that, you know what, it's not worth it to get involved. Even if I do everything right and the guy has an overdose while I happen to have my knee on him, I'm going to be treated like a criminal. Derek Chauvin has been sent away to prison. Even if he's exonerated, he's already lost, years of his life destroyed. He keeps getting his butt kicked in prison. And what happens to get celebrated? He's considered to be like a racist, bloodthirsty monster. There was no racial slurs involved. There was no ethnic slurs involved. He's just getting sacrificed to the political correct gods because the demand for white hatred far outstrips the supply. The demand for white guys going out and killing black people for racial sport, it's a myth. It doesn't exist. So they have to manufacture it and necessarily destroy otherwise innocent people who are otherwise doing their job, doing the right thing, doing what you would recommend other men do in a similar situation. Other strong, capable, able-bodied men do. This is what you want cops to do. If there's a guy who's running around, passing around counterfeit bills while having a combo fentanyl and meth overdose at the same time, screaming into the air, having a fit, not really able to be controlled, you want him to be restrained and put in a safe position to keep everyone around him safe. Same thing with Daniel Penny. You have some guys having an episode saying he's going to kill somebody. He doesn't care if he goes back to jail. He's hungry. He's going to hurt somebody. That's what's on trial here. That's a big one. And then something I wasn't going to talk about today because I didn't know existed. I was just checking on the break. Hey, any new updates? Yes. Let's Go Brandon has announced that he's going to give away $1 billion in your taxpayer dollars for relief of the natural disasters in North Carolina. I'm sorry, for relief of the natural disasters that happened in Florida. I'm sorry, relief for the natural disasters that happened in Africa? Africa.
That's the right thing for the wealthiest nation in the world to do. And today, I'm announcing over $1 billion in new humanitarian support for Africans displaced from homes by historic droughts and food insecurity.
Who's clapping?
We know African leaders and citizens are seeking more than just aid. You seek investment. So the United States is expanding our relationship all across Africa.
Investment.
From assistance to aid, to investment to trade, moving from patrons to partners to help bridge the infrastructure gap. I was told, by the way, when I got elected, I could never get an infrastructure bill passed.
That's enough of that. So there you go. It's not going to North Carolina. Or right now, I was seeing earlier this morning, they were passing around pictures on Twitter of people in North Carolina who are still living in tents, who are living in RVs, who are living in sheds, who are living in makeshift housing with snow on it. These people still don't have electricity. They still don't have running water or sewage. They don't have their lives back. They don't have their jobs back. They don't have a house. They have nothing. And you're sending $1 billion to Africa. Well, we got to take care of the Africans. Excuse me. What about the Americans? What about the people who are suffering from natural disaster in our own backyard? Oh, is it because it's red state America? Screw them. Is that what's going on? Is that part of it? You're worried about the infrastructure in Africa? It's a whole continent. Can you be more specific? So, as long as someone builds a bridge somewhere across this giant continent that's like twice as big as our country, that's what you're throwing money. Just the general, he's not even specific with it. $1 billion is going to Africa. Well, Africa's not a thing. Africa is like a conglomerate of like 40 countries or whatever. Where is this going? What is it going for? Oh, no, this is an investment. Oh, really? Am I going to get a dividend off of this next year? Do you remember getting your dividend off any of the other air quote investments that we've done in Africa or any of the other investments that you've done anywhere? This is the reason the price of eggs went up. This is the reason your price of groceries went up 30% over the last 4 years. They just keep printing money and giving it away. Can you please stop spending money? We don't have any money. You are out of money. Well, not you're out of money. You and Hunter, y'all have gotten tens of billions stacked away. We are out of money. Me and Garrett and you, the guy listening to the James Show or girl listening to the James Show, we are out of money. Please stop putting more money on our credit card. We can't afford it. And look, and if you are, can you just at least do it for an American? Can we just end this whole foreign aid charade? How much trouble is this getting us into? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Or am I wrong? Is this a great thing? Is this really going to help the country to send $1 billion to Africa? Also, blessedbethefruit.org, your home for Project 2025 implementation. Ladies of childbearing age, single ladies of childbearing age, you must register with the National Christian Uterine Database. You will be able to use your registration card for discounts on Meow Mix, Chick-fil-A, kitchen utensils, and other great things like that. Register today. Blessedbethefruit.org. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk to Renata Castro, an immigration attorney, about some big border news coming from Canada next. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Sports fans, listen up. Time to get on that Prize Picks app because there's a lot of action coming up this weekend, and you need to go look at the stats and see if you have any deals. Because I'm going to tell you a little secret. I actually was looking over this weekend, and I had a little fun and won a couple bucks with the games that happened on Thanksgiving. But over the weekend, on the games that happened, I'm a big football guy. On NFL, I didn't like any of the stats that they put out. I thought they were all too close to call. There wasn't anything that was way off. So you know what? I just sat out a weekend, and you know what? It was okay. If you don't find some deals, don't worry about it. Don't put yourself out there if you don't have to. But when you look, usually, like 19 times out of 20 that I go to the Prize Picks app, just go through some of the stat lines and you'll see something like, oh, that's way off. I know he's going to get more than that, or I know he's going to get less than that. And if you have any other doubts, just put your hopes and dreams in the Cowboys kicker, Brandon Aubrey. He's the only guy that doesn't let you down. So check out the Prize Picks app. I'll make it a little easy for you. With your first $5 play, if you use promo code WBAP, you get $50 in promo cash to play with and turn into some real money. So it's easy. It only takes a few seconds to download and takes about a minute to figure out, and it'll add a little bit of spice to the sports you're already watching. Download the Prize Picks app. Use promo code WBAP for that $50 bonus with your first $5 play. Prize Picks. Run your game. Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Let's go. If you want to be a part of the show, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. My next guest, Renata Castro, is coming back on to talk about immigration. She is has her own immigration firm, USA for All. So this is what she does with her full-time efforts, and then comes to share some of the wisdom on the James Show when it comes to these issues. Thank you for coming back on, Renata. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I shouldn't say that. If you're going to be a horrible segment, then I'll take it back at the end. But usually I enjoy when you're on the show. I want to go to the other border, Renata. We had a visit from Justin Trudeau. He went down to Florida, hung out with Donald Trump, and they were saying ugly things about each other before the meeting, and both of them are acting like they came to some sort of understanding after the meeting. What's going on? That border doesn't get nearly as much attention as the southern border. What do you know about that, Renata?
So it's very interesting. I believe last week you and I were talking about how the same circumstance happened with the Mexican president, where she and President-elect Donald Trump were exchanging, taking shots at each other. And then after a phone call, there was some kind of Mar-a-Lago Kool-Aid that both of them drank, and everything was just fine. Now it is Justin Trudeau's turn to drink the Kool-Aid, but not share with us what's in it. When we look at Canada and the challenges with the Canadian border is that the United States understands that Canada has a much stricter and, a less violent, less crime-inclined society in Canada, and that does give the impression that there's no crime and no illegal crossings into the United States, which is far from the truth. It's just a less monitored border, and the demographic that comes to the United States through the Canadian border is different. On the south border, we historically had a lot of Latinos, but now that's changing. Chinese and Indians are the highest number of detention growth in immigrant communities. And it's not surprising that in Canada, you're seeing a very big increase of crossings into the United States of Indian citizens. Now, what Canada is doing in response to some pushback that President-elect Trump has presented is to make it harder for individuals to obtain asylum in Canada. And they actually started a PR campaign, a very aggressive one, saying, don't come to Canada because you're not going to get asylum here. So I don't know how that's going to solve our border issue, but there's an interesting thing that I think the listeners should know about. The United States had a few very important immigration reforms in its history. And in one of them, we decided that it was good for our country to have some kind of checks and balances controlling or balancing out the number of individuals from a certain country coming to the United States. Not because they're good or bad, just because we didn't want a disproportionate representation of a certain group. We wanted to give an opportunity to everybody. Now, China and India, just because of the sheer number of citizens they have, are always going to have a higher number than other countries. As a result, let's say a green card for a Brazilian person takes 3 years if they are a scientist. If they're from India, it could take as much as 10 years. So that is why we are seeing, it's not a justification, it's just a reasoning, some background for the listener to understand why we are seeing an increase of Indians coming to the United States, trying to seek asylum, and entering to Canada. So it's a complex international policy issue, but that once again, I don't care if it's the Canadian border, I don't care if it's the Mexican border, this only gets resolved if we have immigration reform and change the way our asylum laws are applied.
Well, I also don't want to give Canada too much credit. I imagine if they were between us and where all the drugs are, that they would have some cartel issues and a whole bunch of drug trafficking and a whole bunch of officials that get paid off and bribe judges and politicians or whatnot. So don't give the Canadians too much credit over there. You're going to give them a big head.
It's interesting because we hear that the corruption in Canada is kind of this undercurrent that no one really knows what's going on, but it's there. I think that unless you're from Norway or Japan or some, very evolved, true first world country, we're going to have challenges because we have countries run by humans, and humans are prone to failing. Now, we don't want them to fail. We want to punish those who fail grossly, I would put it this way. But Canada has its own problems. When I was in law school, we used to joke that Canada was like vanilla ice cream. No one wakes up and thinks, wow, I really need vanilla ice cream.
I like that.
If you have it, it's there.
Yeah, I get it.
It's there. You'll have it. But the United States is that, I don't know, mint chocolate chip ice cream that you just crave, something unique and that excites you. And that is why people are now going into Canada with all of its support, free health care, access to education. But at the end of the day, they want to be in the concrete jungle, the capitalistic rush that is the United States. And now that sounds great, but we are still a country of laws. And where we're failing is not only in controlling or patrolling our borders, is by not changing our laws to make it work for us.
All right, Renata, how do they find your work outside of WBAP?
USAforall.com, where companies and individuals can use our expertise to make their American dreams legally a reality.
Love it. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
800-288-9227. If you have any inside dirt on our Canadian neighbors, I'd love to hear from you. Some of you hockey fans up there, if y'all know anything I need to know, please. I don't trust that Justin Trudeau guy. I know too much about him. I know he's a Nepo baby. I know too much about his dad. Just too much going on. Like Canada used to be Diet America, but it's changed, and you could say that about both of our neighbors south of the border. When I was a kid, you could go across to Juarez or Nuevo Laredo just for a day trip. No problem. Now your family doesn't let you go. It's too dangerous. So we'll see if we can get some improvement in that over the next 4 years. Your comments, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, we're going to look at some of the backlash to the Hunter Biden pardon, because coming up in about 20 minutes, I'm going to have back on the show one of our neighbors, retired military veteran who was arrested at January 6th. He's a January 6th political prisoner, did some time in prison and everything. And we'll get his thoughts on what it's like for Hunter to be pardoned and him not. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there. Welcome back to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. How's it going? How you doing? All right, keeping an eye out here for the Daniel Penny verdict. We're expecting that any second here. In fact, look, I'll just pass along this update here. Fox News has a reporter. This is CB Cotton, just standing right outside the courthouse. Look, this is a case about one dude on paper, but it is about a huge cultural shift is depending on this guilty verdict or this not guilty verdict. Do you want good Samaritans in your society? Do you want to encourage people to put themselves in harm's way to protect other people? Or do you want everyone to just be all for themselves, screw other people? It's not worth it because helping can only get you in more trouble. I mean, this is serious stuff. I think it's incredible how half the country seems to be against Daniel Penny. And it has to be for one reason. For one reason only. It's race. And this is a good chance to show that we told you that white people are killing black people for sport and no one cares about it. And it's probably just based on racism. I mean, do we ever have one of these stories where we're all standing outside of the courthouse and the roles are reversed? Absolutely not. But quick update here. This is just a 1 minute brief from CB Cotton, Fox News. And they just posted this literally 1 minute ago.
An update from here at the courthouse in the Daniel Penny manslaughter trial. Just after 1 p.m. Eastern, jurors began deliberations. Before that, prosecutors finished their closing arguments, telling jurors, even if they think Daniel Penny acted with good intentions can turn bad, and reminding the jury it only has to evaluate whether Penny acted recklessly. And they used the widely circulated video of the incident from May of last year, and they told jurors common sense shows Jordan Neely died because of Penny's chokehold, as opposed to a key expert witness for the defense, Dr. Satish Chandru, who testified a combination of factors killed Neely. He said it was Neely's genetic blood condition, drug use, schizophrenia, and exertion combined that killed Neely. The defense attorney also told jurors that several eyewitnesses testified they felt relieved when Penny stepped in.
Wow. This guy might go down. This will be a terrible precedent. This will be something that we need to speak out against. If this guy goes down, it's a terrible message. Ladies, you will be less safe. Not more safe. You will be less safe. There will be less incentive for guys to help you if you're in trouble. And this isn't just for women. This is for children. This is for the elderly. This is for the disabled. This is for the small, the weak, the infirmed. This is the anti-hero verdict. But that's what some people want. They don't want you defending yourself. They don't want you defending other people. They don't want you to have a gun. They don't want you to have a knife. They don't want you to fight. They want you to rely on Big Brother to defend you. You have a problem with a criminal? No, you don't take care of it. You call the cops. And in the meantime, just let them beat you or stab you or rape you or shoot you or rob you until the cops get there. No, thank you. That is not my preferred way to arrange society. That's not the American tradition. That's not what we've done all the way up through American history for 348 years, 48 and a half years now. That's not been the American way. We're just supposed to sit there and get in the fetal position in the corner and wait for the bad man to stop yelling at us? Hell no. So much at stake here on this trial. I hope you get to hear it from me first, and I hope you get to hear that this guy is exonerated, because he should be exonerated. He should be exonerated with a public apology, a high five, and statues should be made of this guy. And here we are. We're on the precipice of, if this goes the wrong way, you're going to have Daniel Penny in prison. You're going to have Derek Chauvin in prison, and you're going to have statues of George Floyd. What in the heck is going on in the small little pieces of America that are controlled by Team Blue? You ever look at the map and realize about 87% of the geographic landmass that is the United States is Team Red? But where's all the goofy stuff happening? Where are they having riots? When George Floyd, or when people were upset about George Floyd or Michael Brown or Trayvon Martin, it wasn't Red America that was getting burned to the ground. It wasn't Red America that had riots with small businesses being torched and looted and burned. That's all Blue America. It's not Red America where you turn on the news and find, oh, look, there was another drive-by last night. Someone was having a birthday party and someone else pulls up out of a car and starts spraying bullets into the crowd. Then there's the other side of hyper blue state America where they can't wait to teach your 6-year-old kid butt stuff at school without the parents' permission or knowledge. That's only happening in Team Blue America. And it's just a small, tiny chunk. I mean, they control 13% of the geographic space of America, and that somehow they've crammed all the weird mutated stuff. And they wonder why people keep doing the urban sprawl, why people keep building these new housing developments out in Prosper and out in Argyle, and people are making these long commutes all the way from like Forney and Terrell and Midlothian and whatnot. Because we want to live in a sane place where we know men can't have babies, people aren't squeezing off rounds when we're trying to sleep, and no one's trying to go after our 7-year-old boy with the pair of pruning shears. And this Daniel Penny is just another... It's not even a drop in the bucket, and it's not a straw on the camel's back. This is like an anvil on the camel's back. Rulings like this will break the chivalrous spirit of America, the good Samaritan spirit of America. I'm keeping an eye on it for you. I'll let you know when it's announced. Coming up next, in the light of this Hunter Biden pardon, wouldn't you like to hear from a January 6th political prisoner? Well, you will in about 6 minutes on The James Show. We'll talk to Larry Brock, one of your neighbors, who spent some time in prison for loitering through the Capitol on January 6th. Didn't break anything, didn't throw a punch, didn't steal anything. Just a retired military veteran who was trying to make his voice heard about an election who we all agree now has some very serious flaws. You'll hear from him next on The James Show. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.